Our next storyteller is someone who came to San Francisco for Burning Man and happened to be in town at the time of a show. And I was thrilled because when I started working with a musical act, I was like the wet spots, like the wet spots. I loved their music. That was what I'm like, go listen to some Wet Spots video and then come back and we'll talk. And I loved his music, and when I got to meet him, I was totally starstruck. And then he comes to rehearsal and works on a story and blew me away, like with his honesty, and he was so in touch with his feelings. I think he's an astounding storyteller. Please welcome to the stage, John Woods of the Wet Spots.
Hi, everybody. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic. And as Dixie mentioned, I am one half of a musical sex comedy duo called The Wet Spots. And back in, it's sort of queer and kink positive music, comedy songs. And back in 2005, me and my wife Cass, the other half of the Wet Spots, we put out this song with a video on YouTube. The song was called "Do You Take It in the Ass," and it got to about 1 million hits on YouTube, which is nothing now. But back in 2005, YouTube was really big. 1 million hits really meant a lot. So for a very, very narrow window of time to a very, very small number of very, very kinky people, I suddenly became a rock star. And I got to tour like a rock star, and I got to party like a rock star, and eventually that partying got a little out of hand. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. 2006, Bastille Day, San Francisco. I play a show. I drink way too much absinthe after the show, and I wind up making out with this chubby Chinese guy. Which was fine, except it wasn't anything I'd planned on doing. And I woke up the next day with a hangover, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm not gonna like do that again." And that the very next day, I played another gig in a sex club in San Francisco. Took way too much ecstasy after the show, and wound up in the womb of this giant pink Muppet, really getting my face up into this wonderful thing that seemed like a cross between a vulva and a disco ball for a couple of hours. Now, when I came down the next day, they told me it was actually not the womb of a Muppet. It was actually the pink fun for makeout room of the sex club. And it wasn't a disco ball crossed with a vulva. It was this woman who had all these really finely polished metal cuffs all up and down her labia. And it wasn't a couple of hours, it was a couple of minutes. Shortly after that, I decided it was time for me to quit alcohol and drugs altogether. And by some miracle, my wife, Cass, the other half of the Wet Spots, decided it was time for her to quit alcohol and drugs. So we quit doing drugs and drinking alcohol in the same day. And when that happened, I actually discovered a couple of things about myself. The first is that when I'm not buzzed, I'm not that kinky. I'm really slutty, but I'm not that kinky. Okay, I'm kind of kinky. I'm like, tie me to the bedpost, fuck my ass with a strap-on kinky. But I'm not like pierce my nipple with a surgical sharp and plug it into a car battery kinky, right? And I know these may seem like kind of arbitrary distinctions, but I cling to them. And I also discover that since I've been using alcohol and drugs to kind of get myself through difficult emotional situations, now that I've quit doing alcohol and drugs, I've sort of reverted to the emotional age that I was when I started to use alcohol and drugs to get myself through difficult emotional situations. So, age 15, Jill wouldn't dance with me to Stairway to Heaven, so I went out into the high school parking lot and got shit-faced and just kept going down that course for a while. So I've become about 15 years old. And the third thing that I discover after I quit drinking and doing drugs, I discover from my experiences touring with the Wet Spots in these kind of dark, overcrowded, underground, kink and queer play spaces, which is that when I'm not buzzed, I am scared shitless of dark, overcrowded, underground, sweaty kink spaces. Nonetheless, we've been booked to play New Year's Eve 2006 in a dark, sweaty, underground, overcrowded kink space. It's actually a house. It's a house party for this kink group on the east coast of the USA. And we're driving up and we're trying to find the place, and eventually we see one house with a guy in a PVC Batman costume on the front porch, smoking a bong. We figure that's no, it wasn't Reed, no. Although that creates a great mental image. Hang on, just give me a second. Yeah, that's in the Spank Bank for sure. So, sure enough, it's the place. They usher us in the front door through the kitchen where a woman in a kind of Value Village maid Halloween outfit is sucking off the Incredible Hulk. And they take us up into the master bedroom, which they've told is going to be our private dressing room, which I'm very grateful for because I am emotionally 15 and scared of crowds, and I know that I'm going to have this nice, quiet dressing room space to get into. But we get in there and we discover that the master bedroom is not actually going to be our private dressing room. It is actually full of people who are getting dressed for this fetish event. And I want to set the stage for you a little bit. On one wall, there's this giant 4-foot by 3-foot oil painting of the comedian Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld. And he's kind of sneering down. It's kind of hot, but this is right after he'd gotten into all that trouble by dropping the N-bomb on stage in the New York City stand-up club. So we're like, what does this like portrait, this oil painting signify? Are like the hosts racist, or what exactly is going on? On the other wall, there is a giant screen TV, and on it there is a woman blindfolded, gagged, and tied up, squirming, and they tell me, oh yeah, this is how she wants to ring in the new year. She's in the basement. It's a live video feed. It's good times, right? And then there's a door off to the bathroom, but we discovered that there's no personal space for us really, except for there's this massive 4-poster bed, and in between the bed and the wall, there's like maybe this much space for us to kind of like roll our rolling suitcase into there. And we roll our rolling suitcase into there, and we start getting into our costumes, and like we just want a little bit of space between us and the other folks. And the other thing is that we've come directly from family Christmas in Ohio, and we have with us in our suitcase a giant bulk bag of Lindor chocolates, and like I want these for me, and I'm worried that if like they see them, they're gonna take them, and I don't want them to take them, so I hide the Lindor chocolates and the rolling suitcase there down in between the bed and the wall, and we get into our costumes and we go down into the living room where we're going to be playing, and we're starting to get set up. And as I say, I'm sort of emotionally 15, and I am desperately socially awkward at this point, and I just want to be accepted by people. And I don't know if you know this, but within the kink scene, there are actually many people who are remarkably socially awkward. And don't really know how to engage with people and just want to be acknowledged. One such person comes up to me. He has a long black trench coat on and a long ponytail, and he says to me, in my normal life, I'm a mere office drone, but in this world, I am Lord Seth, and all shall tremble at my name. This is my slave, Rosalina. You may put 2 dildos in her ass. And I say, well, that's really kind of you. I need to kind of get set up for the show at the moment. And so we start playing the show, and finally I feel like I'm in my element because I've been playing the show for a couple of years, and it's a tight show, it's slick, it's funny, it's going really well. And we start into a song that we do that's often an audience favorite called Smack My Bottom. And oh, thank you. And people are getting inspired. People are putting their partners over their knees and actually spanking them in time with the music. There's flogging, there's people with their paddles, and they're kind of spanking along, keeping a beat, except their rhythm really sucks. And it's kind of throwing us off our game a little bit. And then we also get to the end of the song and da-da, and people are still into it and they're still kind of smacking, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been to like a punk rock gig where you're watching a band and the band finishes but the drummer's all hammered and he's still playing and everyone's just kind of like... And so I lean over to Rosalina and say, hey, I'm glad that you really got into the song. Could you tell your partner maybe next time, like, stop spanking when the song's over? And all of a sudden there's this roar like, you do not speak to her! She is the slave, I am the master! I am Lord Seth from accounting! And all tremble at my name! And clearly there's some kind of rule of etiquette that I've breached here. And so I say, I apologize, Lord Seth. I guess I was in the wrong. Let us make it up to you. We'd like to dedicate our next song to you. It is a seasonal number called Fist Me This Christmas. And quick as a flash, he reaches into his black trench coat and pulls out a white glove. And I think he's gonna like slap me in the face like they do in those old like French movies or something and like challenge me to duel. But what he does is he just throws it to me, and it kind of lands on the top of my guitar right here, and I pick it up, and it's a latex glove. It's a white latex glove, which, I put on my hand and like go, haha, which, I guess is funny because we're about to, do a song about fisting. And so we go back into the song, we were playing it, and the rest of the show goes quite well. And eventually, I hadn't really thought of this in advance, but, when you're doing a New Year's Eve gig, they want you to count in the new year. So it's like, however many seconds to midnight, and we're counting down like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. And this huge crowd of faces just surges towards the stage, and they've got a champagne flute, and they're trying to put the champagne flute in my face, and I'm saying, no, thank you. And they've got a tequila shot, and they're trying to put the tequila shot in my face, and I'm like, no, thank you. And they're carrying me and Cass over from the stage to the dining room where we're signing CDs, and somebody's now passing me a joint, and I'm saying, no, thank you, and it's going this way. And I'm signing a CD, and I'm handing it off to somebody, and it's coming back to me with a line of cocaine on it, and I'm like, no, thank you. And eventually, finally, after this sea of faces and like zero personal space, we finally are told, like, that's it, everyone's got the CD signs you wanted. Why don't you folks take a break? And we're like, thank fucking God. We can go up to the master bedroom now where which is now supposed to be private for us. And we go up the stairs, and Michael Richards is still staring down from the wall with a sneer on his face. And now the video feed, on the other hand, the woman is being spit roasted by these two guys on the video feed from the basement, which is kind of hot. And the bathroom door is now open, and there's a bunch of people standing in the bathtub peeing on a guy. And one of them looks at us and goes, haha, it's the wet spots. And they all bust a gut because it's apparently very funny that we are the wet spots and they are doing something that is making somebody wet, I guess. And we don't know what to do. Like, I've fucked up the etiquette downstairs with Lord Seth. We don't know, like, are we supposed to, like, smile and wave? Do we, like, ignore it? Do we have a little whittle just to be polite, What we wind up doing is going to that little space in between the bed and the wall and just hiding. We're just like, are they still there? Yeah, we're still there. Cass looks at me and says, John, my attitudes have not changed in the slightest. I am still a completely sex positive. I love these people. I'm very glad they have found one another. I need to get the fuck out of here right now. And I say, Yeah, I agree. I'll be right behind you. And Cass takes off with a rolling suitcase. And the reason why I say I'll be right behind you is I have remembered, and she has forgotten, that we have the big bulk bag of Lindor chocolates in between the bed and the wall. And I get into this. I tear this thing open. I start unwrapping these things. I don't even take the glove off. I'm just I'm into this thing. I am into this bag of Lindor chocolates. I'm going to eat every last motherfucking chocolate in the big bulk bag. I'm going to have a stomachache tomorrow. I'm going to feel like shit, and I don't care because I'm going to eat every last fucking thing that's in the bag right now because that is just what's going to happen. Because I have not had a drink tonight. I have not had a smoke tonight. I have not had a bump of cocaine tonight, and I'm going to have these fucking chocolates because apparently that's the pleasure I have left in the world now. And I am digging into these motherfuckers, and they have been sitting next to this space heater next to the wall, and they're half melted, and I'm just stuffing them into my mouth, and half of them aren't even getting in there anymore. And I am down to the second last one in the bag when I hear a voice behind me. Dude, would you sign my dick? There's a man standing there with his cock out and a Sharpie in his hand. And I look at him and I say, you know what? No, I will not sign your dick. I'm sure you're a wonderful person, but I am freaking out right now. I cannot deal with another person. I am just so fucked up in my head right now. I am having all the feels. I need to get out of here. Will you just let me go? And he's like, dude, totally. Yeah. And I am out that door, and I am down the hall, and this guy's in my, hey, do you want to do some heavy nipple play? I'm like, no, I don't want to do heavy nipple play. I am freaking out. I am so overwhelmed with all you people. Will you please just let me out of the way? And he's like, yeah, totally, dude, totally, right? And 3 or 4 people try to get in my way as I'm going out the door. One's, you want to rim my girlfriend? No, I don't want to rim your girlfriend. Get out of my way, please. And they're all just going yeah, totally. And they're being really receptive to what I'm saying. And I'm going, wow, maybe I just need to learn to communicate about my boundaries and just kind of really talk honestly about what's going on for me. And so, I think I've learned something tonight. And I go and I sit down in the car, in the driver's seat next to Cass, and I look in the rearview mirror. And I see that my entire face and the front of my costume is completely covered in this sort of viscous brown substance. It's all around my mouth. It's all over this white latex glove. That I have been waving at people with while I have been begging with them to let me pass them. And that this may have aided it somewhat in the ease of my escape. And Cass looks at me and she says, you ate every last fucking one of those Lindor chocolates, didn't you? And I say, no. Which was technically true. And we start driving back to the hotel room. And on the way there, we have a conversation. And in this conversation, I say, I love this thing that we've made, the wet spots. I love that it seems to touch people. I love that it seems to make them feel better about themselves. I love that it's made me embrace my own kink and sluttiness. And I'm so proud of this thing, and I love it. It's the most meaningful thing I've ever done in my life, but I think I might have to give it up because being in scenes like that, it's too much for me. I'm worried that I'm going to need something to take the edge off when I get that stressed out. And tonight it was chocolate, but so we might just have to put this thing to bed, my mental health has to come first. And Cass said, yeah, I was thinking precisely the same thing. We might need to just be willing to let go of it. And we got back to our hotel room, and there were 2 emails on our laptop. And the first was an invitation to come and play another kink and queer positive event. But this one wasn't from a dark, overcrowded, underground, sweaty kink space. It was from the Sydney Opera House. And And the second email was from a friend of ours in San Francisco that said, hey, heard you two sobered up. Good on you. Next time you're in town, please come to my sober play party. It happens the second Saturday of every month. We would love to have you if you ever want to come. And when I stopped drinking and doing drugs, people told me, you're going to have to learn everything that you ever did with a buzz, you're going to have to learn to do without a buzz. Like, you're going to have to learn how to, celebrate getting a new job sober. You're going to have to learn how to, deal with losing a job sober. You're going to have to deal with relatives dying sober. You're going to have to deal with learning how to, lean in and take that first kiss with somebody sober. They didn't tell me that I was going to have to deal with an orgy sober. But it's 8 years later, and I can tell you that it can be done. It gets way easier. So thanks, everybody. Good night.